Hello everyone, Kelly Melendi here. I am just wanted to step in and say hello to everybody on this first day of spring. Well, it's actually I guess it's the first full day of spring. Um, and I just want to see if we are live. If anybody is watching this and can hear me, just to say hello. I hear you, just a thumbs up or anything, just so I know that it's working, because I know sometimes these aren't exactly going. So if anybody is hearing me, just give me a thumbs up that you can hear this, that this is going live. I am not seeing it. Might be a little bit of a delay. Let me see. Well, I guess I will just start. But I do want to make sure that it's working. Anywho, well, you know what? We'll just get going. I don't see it here, but that does not mean that it's not working. Let me try one more thing. Okay, there we go. All right. So anyways, I just wanted to say happy spring to everybody. And it's still kind of a cool day and dark day here in the Boston area. But you know what? It's spring and we're at the end of winter, and I wanted to just talk about spring and what it means and the new beginnings, and you know, the things that you're starting to see popping up along the way as you're walking. That's the one thing I really love about spring in New England or the Boston area, is you kind of go from that spot of that, you know, that darkness, the death of all that stuff of winter, and you can begin to look around and see all the little signs of spring. You know, like the bulbs that you may have planted in the fall, you start seeing all the little sprouts come up. Or the other day when I was out walking, I saw the little bulbs of the I think they call them snowdrops, or yeah, I think they're snowdrops. They're these little white little bell things that, you know, flowers along the way that pop up. And you know, in my yard, all the little daffodils are starting to come up, and the tulips, and just, you know, again, just the little sprouts. It's definitely not the flower itself or anything, but it's just that little sprout out from the frozen the ground, you know, and you know that something's coming. And you know, I start to think about that, and it's, you know, we again, being in New England, we have the real definite, you know, shifts of seasons. And you know, you can almost in your body begin to feel all those different shifts and what that means. And you know, when we're trying to do things and we're trying to bring things out, and we know that we want all sorts of things, and again, we just keep plugging along and plugging along and plugging along, and you know, sometimes you just need to see evidence of things that are there. And one of the things that I've really tried to force myself to do is to begin to look for the evidence instead of for the problem. You know, a couple weeks back, I had, you know, one of those weeks that you just, you know, want to put behind you and either make pretend they didn't even happen, or just try to figure out, like, you know, how do you even like continue to go on when things are just like, you know, everything you touch is just either breaks or falls apart or whatever. Hey, Debbie. You know, so you're trying to just find places that you know, just kind of keeping your head above water, as they say, and trying to figure out, you know, how do you keep, I think that the process is to, how do you keep going toward what you want when things are kind of happening in your way, that get in your way, when you're trying to do new things, you know, when you're trying to either, and sometimes it's not even new, sometimes it's something that you've been trying to do for a while, and you're just, you know, you're plugging along, and you're trying to get a business off the ground, or you're trying to do, you know, Debbie has a business that she's doing, you know, the Create and Escape. If anybody has not heard about it, it is absolutely wonderful. So look Debbie up. She has a store, and forgive me, I don't exactly remember where it was. think, please type in there, Debbie, where your store is, or just a little, you know, what you're trying to do. I don't even want to say, I think it's Peabody, but I'm not exactly sure where it is. So just type in there. So if anybody does want to, you know, get people together and doing some fun stuff. She has Main Street and Peabody. Thank you. I thought it was Peabody, but I wasn't sure. You know, when you're trying to do things and you're trying to bring things out, sometimes it's like, you know, it's all the work that you have to do to get it there, which is kind of that winter, you know, that when you're not seeing any result, and then you just start seeing little sprouts, you know, you start maybe, you know, seeing evidence that these things are happening. And what I have been trying to do is really begin to look for that, look for the evidence of that before you can see like the whole thing. So again, spring, you know, summer's coming, you know that it's going to be, you know, it's going to be the middle of July, and then everybody's going to be complaining about how hot it is, and you know, not waiting for the fall, and you know, and just this cycle that we get into. But when you're in the beginning of spring, and the beginning of seeing what you want, and beginning to thinking, well, maybe this is possible, and then things happen. You know, March, April can still, again, we'll kind of use the analogy of the weather. It can still be cold. It can still be, you know, you're getting up and it's still cold, and you're still not seeing that evidence of the warmer weather and the spring and all of the flowers. And again, you know it's going to happen in weather, or you know that if you do something long enough and you get into that place of just committed to doing it, you know it's going to happen. But it's finding the things that keep you motivated. It's finding the things that when you're trying to keep doing what you want to do, to keep going, even when you're not seeing a whole bunch of evidence. You know, again, sometimes you see the sprout, but, you know, is it going to become a flower? Is it going to, you know, is a windstorm going to come and blow it over? Is, you know, like all these things that can happen. And it's how do you just keep moving and keep going forward? Hi, Ann. You know, how do you keep going when you're not always seeing that evidence, or you're not feel like, when you just get tired of, you know, constantly going and constantly just feeling like, oh gosh, you know, like how do you stay motivated in those days when it's still cold out and you're still trying to, you know, keep your momentum going, and you got all this training behind you, or you got all this work that you've done to try to, when you're going from here to there, how do you keep yourself motivated? And for me, you know what the answer is? Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just have to, you know, allot a certain amount of time to have that pity party, which is what I did that day. You know, I just said, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 hours to just feel sorry for myself, to be like, okay, it's cold out. I don't, you know, I don't want to go do this, or, you know what, I'm trudging and I'm learning and I'm trying to get all this stuff and I keep hitting these walls, and it's like, okay, let's just kind of give ourselves a pity party. Sometimes it's just, you just got to sit with yourself for that. Again, when the key to this is not giving yourself days and weeks and months of that. It's allotting your time for feeling what you're feeling, allowing yourself to say, you know what, shit, this is hard sometimes. It's hard. It's hard to change. It's hard to keep motivated. It's hard to keep that momentum going sometimes. Having a wonderful support system is you know, people that will keep you raised up when you're not feeling it. People that will keep you, you know, hold that space for you when you're trying to do something, that will say to you, hey, what is it that you need right now? And that will keep you on that track. It is okay to not know what the hell you're doing sometimes. It's perfectly fine to not know where this is going to take you, where this, you know, where what you're trying to do is going to get you. Like, you know, we live in that security sometimes of, you know, if we're trying to go from a, you know, that full-time job of, you know, again, the corporate job of the security of all that, and we're trying to bring something else in the world, how do you bring that, how do you stay in that when you're not seeing the evidence? You know, you have that 1 foot out and 1 foot in, and how do you keep going? Because this is the part that kind of sucks sometimes. It's the part that, you know what, you can't, once you step out and you get into that feeling and that new energy of where it is that you want to go, it is, you almost can't go back. And that's the sucky part. That's that part, that muddy middle, I guess we'll call it, that says, you know what, you've started this, you've got, as they say, the bug to do what it is you want to do. You know that it's possible. You're not exactly seeing it for yourself as to how it can possibly happen for you, but you're knowing it's a direction, you're knowing it's a place, but it's hard. So how do you keep yourself motivated during that time when you just don't know like what to do and how to do it? And the answer to this is never an easy one. I mean, you have to sit with yourself and just begin to say to yourself, what's more important? What's important right now? Is it staying in that place of uncertainty, which, you know what, honestly, I think you're going to always, for me anyways, I shouldn't say you, like for me, it's, I'm always not certain. I'm never completely confident about what I'm doing, you know, in this new place that I'm going in life. I'm never in that place of, oh, I know where I'm going and I know what I'm doing. And I got to be honest, I think anybody who tells you that they absolutely do, if it's a new venture, it's something that's different from what you're used to, and they say, oh yeah, I don't know. Again, for me, that's just not how it's been. I sit there more times than I care to admit of, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing something that's closer to what I want to do rather than sitting in where I know I don't want to be. You know, it's finding places that you can just feel okay. Like, you know, a couple weeks ago, I told you that I went out and I said, you know what, I'm just going to clean everything because I know I'm really good at that and I can just gain some confidence that that's what I can do. So it's finding those motivators for yourself that help you to feel like you're not going to not ever be scared. You're not, you know, for anybody to say, oh, you know, you're going to do this new venture, you're going to do all these new things, or you know what, sometimes it's not even new. Sometimes it's just, you know, continuing on to do those things. You're going to be scared. You're going to, you know, as a friend said to me this morning, you know, your knees are going to be knocking. The answer to this is not how do you not be afraid and then do it. The key to this is how do you know, the old saying, how do you feel the fear and do it anyways? How do you be brave when you know that you're scared? How do you do that? So, and that's really a personal, everybody has to find where that place is within themselves that allows you to do the things that really scare you, but do it anyways, and just kind of go out on a limb. And sometimes it's easy. It's as easy as just, you know what, talking to a friend and getting almost like that permission to say, you know what, it's okay to want what I want. It's okay to do the things that I want to do. It's okay. Whether they work out the way I think they're going to, or they work out in a different way, at least you're out there and you're trying to do something. And the momentum, oh, look at my hair there. the momentum and the, see, this is why I get in the places I get, because I see little squirrels in life, and then I go down these rabbit holes of things. So anyways, but you know, like it's staying in that lane of, or even the road as to where you want to be. You know, there's 4 different lanes on a highway, or, you know, or 3 different lanes. It's like, just because you're in one lane, somebody else is in another, and somebody else is in another. That old saying, stay in your own lane. Just stay in connection with what you want, what feels good to you. And, you know, I'm always saying this, always asking yourself, what is it that you want? What feels good for you? What do I need in order to bring this out for myself? Is it, you know, permission, you know, and I hate that word permission, but is it the permission to want what you want, you know, from yourself? Do you need a support system? Do you need, you know, a place where you're starting that feels really good? There is 100 different ways to get to where you want to go. Find which one works best for you. And, you know, that's what life coaching is really about. It's helping, it's me, or, you know, a coach helping somebody to figure out what works for them. You know, we can give the guidance, we can give suggestions, we can give, you know, all these support, but the long-term sustaining change that people want is when they find the reasons why they want to do it for themselves, how they can best do it for themselves, and figuring out what they need to do it for themselves. Again, we all need a support system, but ultimately it comes down to us. So it's asking yourself, you know, what do I want? Why do I want that? And then beginning to look for that evidence. You know, I have this thing I'm doing for 7 days from the first day of spring, which was today. Well, I think today was the first full day. I'm going to look for evidence of new beginnings. Every day, I want to look, whether it's like today, there was like all these little bulbs coming up in my backyard. And it was like, oh, okay, so there's evidence that something is happening underneath there. There's an energy, there's a life, there's something that is causing that to erupt through the soil. You know, and I want to continue to look. I want to look for the things that are working. I want to continue to look for the things that are starting to boil up. I want to begin to look for the things that are trying to emerge, whether it's through the soil, whether it's through my soul, whether it's through my voice, whether it's through, you know, postings or, you know, whatever it is that so that I can see evidence of that rather than when we go into looking, well, you know, I don't know how to do that or that doesn't work. So that's the evidence that you're going to find. So setting that intention for me for the next 7 days of finding new beginnings, finding things that are trying to just erupt, whether it be in earth, whether it be within me, whether it be, you know, in a relationship or whatever. What are the new things that are trying to, you know, be heard and be seen because they're there. At any moment, there's something, a new beginning, a new place, a new thing that is trying to make itself be seen. And all it needs is somebody to see that. So I encourage you for the next 7 days, to begin to look in places in your life of things that are trying to emerge, things that are trying to push through the soil, that instead of us saying, oh, well, that's not the way that I wanted it to look like, or that's not what I wanted, well, then what is this? What is this that's trying to emerge from either our inner world, our outer world, our, you know, places that we have forgot to look in, or places that we are too scared to look in sometimes, which is, you know, completely valid as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post 7 different things of new beginnings that I see each and every day that are trying to emerge through. You know, it might be, you know, like I say, I don't even want to put any as to what it might be. I want it to just organically just appear as to what are the possibilities? What are the possibilities for this spring, for this new, I mean, everybody's talking about this, you know, this big supermoon that we just had, and all these changes in the astrological world, and the you know, all this stuff of all these new things that are starting to emerge. I would love to see all the evidence that we can all find of new beginnings, of wonderful things that can be part if we put our attention toward that. So I hope everybody has a wonderful Thursday, and again, anybody want to reach out if you have any questions or anything that you do want me to ever talk about, or any questions that you have for me that I can address on these live Thursdays, I would love to be able to do that as well. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Happy spring, and go look for those new beginnings that you can see someplace. Have a great day.